Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This food industry-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to help keep you up to date.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Xtalks Food Podcast. I'm Sydney Perlmutter, Senior Food Industry Journalist and Webinar Moderator at Xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by special guest Chad Pawlak. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Genvor, a developer of sustainable plant health solutions. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Sydney.
Of course. I just want to also congratulate you on your recent appointment as CEO of Genvor.
Yes, thank you very much. Still very new, but super excited to be here. Exciting company with some real exciting technology.
That's wonderful. So could you share with us your vision for Genvor under your leadership, especially in the context of the company's focus on sustainable plant health solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So Genvor's been around for quite some time. The research itself goes back to the late 1970s. The company formed about 7 years ago. It's really been operating in stealth mode over those last years. And it's only been recently, approximately October of this last year, that they've come out to the public and said, hey, we've got this great research, this great proprietary library of peptides that are ready for commercialization. So the vision is to enhance and move that message forward so that the ag majors, the distributors, and the growers across the United States and the world can learn about our technology, learn about our peptides, and how they can impact crop health, as well as nutrient enhancement, nutritional enhancement, that is, across the agricultural and food sectors.
Obviously, Genvor's partnership with the USDA has recently led to a significant publication on antimicrobial peptides. We can just call them AMPs going forward. So how do you believe that this publication will influence the perception of Genvor's innovations in the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're very proud of that relationship and the partnership with the USDA. The sector of biologicals, as I'm sure you're aware of, is big. It covers a lot of different aspects of technology, as well as the sector pain points. It's also can be a bit noisy, and there's not always the pure research validation from some of these companies' value propositions that make it easy for the grower to understand what's happening, or even the distributors or ag majors to know which of these technologies work. So for Genvor, being the small company trying to do big things, this really validates that our technology works, that it's trending in the right direction to solve some pretty big pain points, specifically targeting aflatoxin in post-harvest situations that happens with corn. And that's really the beginning of our messaging to the world, that we have research now from a great research partner that validates that value proposition. So we're excited to share that with the companies that can help us take that technology through regulatory, through manufacturing, and into the farmers' cornfields as soon as possible.
Now, the study highlighted the effectiveness of Genvor's AMPs, GV185 and GV187, in combating fungal and bacterial pathogens. So what makes these AMPs stand out from other solutions that are currently available in the market?
Well, another great question, Sydney. There really aren't a lot of solutions, especially for this one particular pathogen. It's something that growers have been struggling with for a long period of time. The actual market itself, just in the United States, is $500 million of loss just for this one bad thing each year. So we're excited about bringing a solution to market that can help solve this issue. And then in addition to that, it's the ability for this to be a sustainable, naturally occurring molecule solution that moves us away from some of the synthetic chemistries that the industry all across the supply chain, from consumers to retailers to the growers in the field, we've all, I think, collectively have agreed we're looking for softer chemistries. We're looking for solutions that have less environmental impact onto the soils, our water systems, our air, our workers in the fields. So this solution, this technology allows that to happen and still offer a broad spectrum solution that will increase the efficacy of various crop health issues for growers.
So one of the really interesting findings about these AMPs is their selective activity towards pathogens without affecting red blood cells. So can you elaborate on the importance of this selective activity in developing safe agricultural solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the history of chemistry and crop protection solutions, we started out looking at small molecules that were very, very targeted. And those solutions, they worked, but they were also developed certain side effects. And that's really because these targeted molecules, I like to say, sometimes get bored. Some people like to say they get mischievous. So after they hang out on the receptor that they hang out on, then they decide to maybe bounce around a little bit and see what other things they can do. Well, those other things they can do aren't necessarily what we want them to do. And so enter into the conversation large molecules, and the large molecules, broad spectrum peptides, allow for that broad spectrum solutions and efficacy to happen, and gives the grower the opportunity to see those problems solved without the issues of other things happening that the farmer wasn't necessarily looking to have happen. But then also just from the sustainability side, the ability to go in and harvest the next day if they wanted to, not having to worry about worker health issues based on the peptides breaking down once their job is over, really into nitrogen and water. So that's very exciting around this conversation of how do we continue to protect crop health, but how do we do it in the most sustainable, environmentally sound ways.
So with the promising results, and with that said, are there plans for commercializing these peptides, and are there specific crops or regions that you're going to target initially?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of what I came here to do, is to open that conversation on commercialization. So for all those ag manufacturing companies in the US and in the world that are looking at crop protection solutions that are that softer chemistry, the biochemistry, the biologicals, whatever word we want to unite around, peptides is the next conversation I think everybody is having. The question is how can Genvor come forward and be that partner and help accelerate the research and the development and the pathway to regulatory for these companies. And that's what I'm here to do, is to say we're welcoming those conversations. Reach out to us, reach out to me, and let us share that data with you. Let's go to the greenhouse and see these crops and how they're growing and what they're doing to fight back these diseases. And let us showcase our library. We have over 24 peptides that are doing some amazing things, both on the AMP side that you're really referencing, but also on another area called NEPs, which are nutritionally enhanced peptides, where we can bring forward crops that have increased amounts of protein, as an example. So one of the things a lot of crop conversations are centered around, especially in livestock and animal protein production, is something referred to as feed efficiency. I've been at that conversation for over 15 years, and we haven't really nailed feed efficiency, especially on the bovine side of the conversation. But NEPs can do that. We can produce products that have higher values of protein, which would allow less of something being fed, which could increase the efficiency of those animals. So very exciting technology, both on the crop health side, but then also on the nutritional enhancement side as well.
That's awesome. So can you tell me a bit about you mentioned you were a small company. So can you talk about the significance of Genvor's collaborative R&D agreement with the USDA and how this partnership benefit your research and development efforts?
It starts first off with just who the USDA is. They're a trustworthy partner. They're great scientists. They have great protocols in place. And a company our size with this partnership allows us access to that third-party selection of scientists as well as protocols. From an economic standpoint, the USDA is a very fair research partner from an investment standpoint, requiring the dollars from us to sponsor these researchers, as well as the space and time within the greenhouses and other work that we're doing with them. And then also just being great mentors to us. They've seen a lot of products come through. They've seen products that have worked very well, and they've seen things that haven't. So they're also a great partner to collaborate and be very candid with us, saying if we can move more in this direction versus that direction, that's also been very helpful to us as well. So we couldn't be more happy to be working with the USDA, and we look forward to continuing this relationship and expanding into others with them this year as well as in coming years.
You briefly touched on aflatoxin contamination, which is, a major concern globally. I think I've heard about it impacting nuts as well. So how does Genvor plan to implement its AMP-enabled resistance technology in the corn varieties to combat this issue?
Partnerships. Genvor is a research and development discovery company. That's how we've been operating. That's what we were founded on, and that's what we plan to continue to be. I've worked with very large agricultural manufacturer suppliers and solution providers throughout my career. These companies have great relationships. They own a lot of stainless steel and manufacturing capacities, not only in the US, but globally. So our focus will continue to be to bring these peptides to the breakaway conversation to commercialization, but we do not intend at this point or at this time to build those manufacturing facilities or take these products to market on our own. So those partnerships are really what I'm focused on, to introduce Genvor to these companies and then partner with them to take these products not only to corn, but as you mentioned, other crops as well as other peptide solutions. Our focus has been on the fungicide side of this conversation, but we have a way of finding efficacy with peptides that we feel is very unique to Genvor. And that cipher methodology, if you will, that we have developed allows us to look at peptides as long as 17 in length, and that's something a lot of companies can't do. So we're very fast and very quick to be able to look at different peptides in a variety of different lengths, and then be able to point those peptides into certain pain points across the ag and food industry.
So Genvor's recent press release sort of highlighted the potential of its AMPs as non-chemical alternatives, as you were mentioning. So how do you see this approach changing the landscape of crop protection just in general?
As I said earlier, the growers, the retailers, the manufacturers, everybody is looking for solutions in the realm of biologicals. It's a very popular conversation. The pathway to regulatory is faster than synthetic chemistry. The R&D expense is much lower. A recent article just came out. The synthetic chemistry AI active ingredient can cost in the neighborhood of $300 million. I've seen companies take 5, 7, 10 years for synthetic chemistries to get approved, if ever. So this allows us to go into a type of chemistry that's softer, faster pathway to regulatory approval. As well as I mentioned, the ability to bring proven solutions to a conversation that has been inconsistent. Like I said, there's a lot of biological providers that provide different things, but one of the challenges with biologicals that I've seen, because I've worked with a lot of them myself, is inconsistency of efficacy. In other words, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And that's very frustrating for the grower. That's very frustrating for the distribution and sales partners along the supply chain. And peptides, you have that certainty of chemistry, but the value proposition of biologicals. So it's the best of both worlds. And that's why I'm really excited to have this conversation with the large ag companies that I know have been looking at how they can bring these types of products forward to solve these issues that we all know are out there, as well as very important to everybody along the supply chain.
So I noticed that Genvor, it operates with a licensing first business model. So can you explain how this model works and its advantages for the company and its very important partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, looking at the fact that we want to be really, really good at research and development and discovery, the business model is a licensing first. So our goal is to partner with those companies that can help us take the peptides that we've developed, as well as the peptides that are in our pipeline still being proven out, to market. And to do that, this isn't something we're inventing on our own. Licensing and royalty AIs have been the norm of the agricultural biochemistry and chemistry sectors for a long time. So that's the business model. We'll partner either collaboratively with joint development agreements, joint research development agreements, commercialization agreements, wherever we're at in the stage gating process of bringing these peptides to market. That's where we want to meet our partners, and we want to partner with those partners to bring these products to market and have the greatest likelihood of success for the growers that we all serve.
So looking ahead a little bit, are there any other technologies or solutions that Genvor is developing?
At this time, we're very active in biochemistry as an overall sector. So there's a lot of exciting opportunities around crop health, around crop protection. Most of what we talked about is crop health. Crop protection is a very big opportunity for the industry to look at. And then, as I mentioned, feed efficiency is another big area. And then wrapping that all together and tying it in to help companies with their sustainability goals. A lot of companies have spent the last year or two on their actual emissions and their scope 1 and 3 impact on the globe. And we believe that we can help companies reduce their scope 3 impact in their supply chain. And we can do that in a very clear way so that companies that are doing these things can help report those throughout their supply chain and take advantage of the softer approach to crop health and crop protection that we've talked about today.
So for our audience members who may not know, can you explain what scope 3 is?
Sure. So scope 3 is your supply chain. So if you're buying a box of cereal at your favorite retail store and bringing that home, scope 3 will look at your environmental impact from the time you, Sydney, bought that box of cereal all the way back to when that farmer planted that crop that ended up in that box. So as you can imagine, scope 3 accounting or audit work is very robust. it takes into consideration really everything that happens from that field selection to the seed selection, what's used to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of all the inputs used on those fields, the food miles, and all of those companies that touch that product throughout that supply chain. And that's all added up, and that's your scope 3 impact. And a lot of companies all along that supply chain are collaborating together today to find ways to more effectively reduce those emissions as a team in order to bring the most sustainable products to market as possible.
Thank you for clarifying. So lastly, how does Genvor engage with the broader agricultural community? You were touching on this already, but farmers, researchers, and industry stakeholders to promote the adoption of your sustainable solutions?
Yeah, so up until very, very recently, we haven't done a lot. Like I said, we've been a very quiet, stealth mode research company. Like I said, one of our founders published the first paper on peptides in 1977. So quietly, I would answer your question, how we've been communicating very, very quietly. I'm here to change that. I'm here to attend conferences. I'm here to talk on podcasts like yours and share this exciting research that goes back as long as it does, and really help be part of this conversation with all of the agricultural community that's out here solving these problems. And we believe that we can be thought leaders alongside all these other conversations and these leaders that came before us, and bring peptides as a solution to these animal health, feed efficiency, crop health, and crop protection conversations that everybody's having on a regular basis.
Well, I'm glad you're here to amplify this conversation, and thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Hey, thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Food Podcast. If you like today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Xtalks Food Industry Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media. Email podcast@xtalks.com or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.